Okay, so in this section, let's see how we can implement a basic inventory system so that our characters will be able to equip some item. So if you go and check out this PRS Essentials content pack, under the meshes directory, we have a set of accessories, and these are the static meshes that I'm going to use as inventory items. Okay, right. Now let's go to the procedural system directory, and under the blueprints components subsystem, I'm gonna create a new blueprint actor component called BPC inventory system. Okay, right. So now by using this component, we should be able to spawn some inventory item. For that, let's go to the character base blueprint, and there let's add this inventory system actor component. Right. So now what I need to do is basically spawn some sort of a static inventory item and attach it to the to our character. Okay, right. So for that, let's create a new function called spawn inventory item, and for now I'm gonna simply spawn a very simple actor instance and attach it to the character. So for that, let's just create actor at our blueprints directory. Now I'm going to call this one as inventory, and there let's create a new blueprint actor component. I'm going to name this one as inventory item base. Okay, now for this inventory item, let's add the static mesh component. Okay, and then let's add some variables so that we can configure this inventory item. So first I'm gonna give it some sort of a unique ID, which is a name, and static mesh, and then transform, which is a transform. Right, all of them we can assign it to a category called setup. Now I'm gonna make everything public. Right, now at the construction script we have to initialize this actor instance. So that I'm going to create a new function called initialize, and within this function, by referring this mesh, let's set this static mesh as the new mesh. Also for this static mesh, let's set the relative transform based on the transformation rules that we have been defined over here. So by default, the transformation rules are simply 0 by 0 by 0, and the scale is 1 by 1 by 1. But in case if you require some dynamic configurations, you can do those stuff as well. Okay, and then just for the sake of reference, As the mesh, let's give it a cube. So we have these meshes. Let's go and check out what sort of meshes that we have. Right, so just for the time being, let's give it a cube. Maybe we can use the default cube provided by the Unreal Engine, which is this one. Okay, so it comes from the engine basics shapes cube. Right, so this is the default cube. And then at the construction script, now let's call this initialize function, compile it. Okay, now I can see there is a cube. Right, then we have to spawn this inventory item by using our inventory system. Right, so within this spawn inventory item function, let's call spawn actor from class, and the class would be inventory item base. So this transformation, I'm gonna split the struct to the pins, so it will be spawned from the 000 location. Right, and as the owner, we have to get the owner and attach it to here. So let's get owner. So ideally, whoever implement this inventory item will be the owner. In our scenario, it will be the character. And also the collision handling override, let's just say all is spawn and ignore collision, which means in our static item mesh, let's make this one as no collision. Otherwise, it may intersect with the character mesh, which ultimately has some collisions, so that it may not be able to spawn in the correct position. Right? So I'm gonna simply disable the collisions for the static mesh. Right. After that, let's promote this to a local variable called L underscore spawned item, and then we can attach this item to the character. So for that, I'm going to create another function called attach to character. So there we need a character reference. So at the begin play, let's get the owner and cast it to character blueprint. And if this is a valid cast, we can promote this to a variable called character. And I'm going to assign this to a category called references. Okay. Now within this attach to character function, let's get the character and let's get the characters mesh, because that's the place we are going to attach this inventory item actor. And let's call attach actor to component. So the parent is basically the character mesh and the target is our spawned inventory item actor. Right, and here I can provide a dedicated socket where this specific element going to be attached. So this socket means if you check out the character skeleton mesh, actually I have been already defined set of sockets, right? So this one stands for socket SI backpack, this one is socket cup, this one is for briefcase, pawn, things like that. For each individual item, I have been already pre-configured the sockets. So you can, if you're using a custom mesh additional to the given inventory items, you can define your own sockets as well. So all you have to do is simply select the closest bone and add a socket and give it a name, and you can configure its transformations accordingly. Right? But in our scenario, we can simply use these default sockets names that I've been already provided at the menu. Okay. So anyway, I have to give a socket name so that it will be able to attach it to that specific socket. And this transformation rules should be snap to target for both location, rotation, and also for scale. Compile and save. Right, now at our spawn inventory item, it seems like having an error. Target must have a connection. So not this one, maybe at the begin play, let's get the owner and promote it to a variable called owner. Maybe we can add it to here as well. Right, now at the spawn inventory item function, let's use that as the owner. Right, so now there will be no errors. Right, so after spawning the actor, we can now call this attach to character function to attach that specific actor to a given socket. So here let's use this spawn item, and we have to give the socket. So for now I'm going to parameterize the socket directly to the function, and then at the begin play we would be able to call the function. So let's call the function directly like this, and you have to provide what's the socket name. So just for the time being, let's spawn and attach our cube actor on the left hand over here. So I'm going to use this socket, simply copy the name and paste it over here. Right, so let's play. Okay, so you can see actually the actor has been spawned, but it's sort of huge. So maybe at the inventory item base, as the there's a small typo, it should be transform, and as the transform scale, let's give it maybe like 0.2 by 0.2 by 0.2. So we'll be having a relatively smaller cube. And play. Right, as you can see under the left arm, it has spawned that actor for us. Okay. One other thing, maybe for the player, let's make its rotation mode to forward facing. Okay, so now we can see there is the inventory item. Right, so up next, in the next tutorial, I'll show you how we can create a data table so that we can define all the inventory items and its configurations in a centralized place, and after that we can simply refer that data table and spawn any inventory item at runtime.